it's me, Michaela, and welcome back to my channel. Today we are doing a February reading wrap up. I don't know how February is over. It felt like an extremely long month, but also it flew by. It was extremely busy, but I did still manage to get some reading done. And now that it is behind us, let's talk about those reads. As always, just to start off with a little bit of my reading stats for the month. In February, I did read a total of 5 books. I was kind of hoping I'd read more, but I'm not mad about that. It ended up being an absolutely insane month work-wise, so the fact that I read 5 books, which is still more than one a week, is kind of impressive for me. Good job, girl. All 5 of the books were new to me. I had 4 physical reads that were books I owned, and I had 1 digital read that I loaned from the library. I had a really good reading month with a 4.2 star average rating. I read 2,060 pages in the month of February for an average book length of 412 pages, and I read about 71 pages a day. So now, let's talk about some books. So the first book that I read this month was The Cruel Prince by Holly Black. This is the first book in her The Folk of the Air trilogy, and let me tell you, I'm gonna have to grab the rest of this trilogy because I need to know where things go after this. So this was actually a gift from my best friend, so I was really happy I got to read it. And I liked it. I gave it, 4 stars? Yeah, I gave this 4 stars. I did find I enjoyed the first half of the book. There was nothing wrong with the first half of the book. I was reading it, I was enjoying it. I was just thinking to myself while I was reading it, I don't see how a substantial overarching plot is being put in place right now, if that makes sense. And the way this book ends, it's a lot. It's unexpected. I was like, oh my gosh. Hence I now need to get the rest of the series and figure out what happens. But the whole first half of this book is just we're going to school and people are mean. And it feels really not quite mundane, but for being a fantasy book where you're expecting some overthrowing of rulers, changing the whole dynamic of the entire world, kind of plot, it did feel mundane. And again, I still enjoyed it. It wasn't that was bad. It was just that was confusing. The first half of the book was wow, I like this, but I don't get where we're going with this. And then the second half of the book, I was okay, I'm here for it. So I gave it 4 stars, and I'm really looking forward to the second book. I like the relationships. I like the way things develop in the story between characters. I also like how the twists are revealed, and the fact that they kind of just keep coming. And it's it's good, it's fun. It's it's YA. It's a quick, fun read. I just think it took a tad too long to properly set things up, and I think it could have been done more condensed, and I think it could have been done in a clearer manner where it was more easily understandable what was happening. Good book. We'll be reading more. I then read Mislaid in Parts Half Known by Shauna Maguire, the 9th book in the Wayward Children's series. I actually read this for a short little reading vlog in the month of February, and I gave this book 5 stars. Look, it's another one of the Wayward Children series where it's taking place at the Home for Wayward Children, so you have the dynamics of all of your favorite characters from the previous 8 books interacting together, this idea of questing. You're getting so much more world building, you're getting so much more understanding of the portal fantasy aspects and the doors and how they work. You're getting more Antsy, who is a newly introduced character from the 8th book, Lost in the Moment and Found, and it's giving you her perspective from back pacing a little bit to where the Drowned Girls go, and then going forward, but from her perspective. And it was so good. I absolutely loved it. I love the Wayward Children series. If you haven't read the Wayward Children series, I highly recommend that you do read trigger warnings first, because there are a lot of themes around childhood trauma, so keep that in mind. It's very dark, it's very whimsical, it's just sweeps you away in the beauty of Shauna Maguire's writing. I think she's able to portray these themes and topics in such a like wonderful way. I feel like wonderful is like a weird way to put it, but like I think the way that Shauna Maguire writes these books is fantastic. Them all being like novellas, so they're all like under 200 pages. Each book is like this beautiful little whimsical pocket of a story, and it's so great how they all connect together. So highly recommend. I gave that 5 stars. Amazing, fantastic, wonderful read. I then decided to finish reading some romance series that I had one book left in for a reading vlog, and the first book I read for that was The Gentleman's Gambit by Evie Dunmore. This is the 4th and final book in a League of Extraordinary Women series by her, and this unfortunately was like my least favorite book in the series. I gave this 3 stars. I felt like it started on such a high and I was like so into it, and then it very quickly fell off. It felt like it almost got away from being a romance story. You know, like you're supposed to be following Catriona and Eli. However, like the chemistry between them just like wasn't reading for me on the page. And there was also things that were like brought up as like topics that could have been used for like more like plot and character development that I felt like weren't really like gone through enough. I don't think they were developed enough. It seemed like they were just like plopped in and then forgotten about. And then also felt like I got away from the romance story in general because we were talking so much like historical politics. And then there's also pockets of it where you're not even following this couple. Every now and then you're just reading a chapter that's about like one of the other 3 couples in the series before now. And I get that it's like because like this is the end of the series, like you want to have things wrapped up nicely with like a little bow on it. But it just like felt like it took away from the fact that it's Catriona and Eli's story. So like why are we not reading Catriona and Eli? And then like I said, like the ending was a little disappointing for me in the way, not like just the way it was like portrayed. I liked the concept of it. I didn't think it was executed and well enough for me. So it was like kind of sad because I was like, it was a good book and I liked it, like 3 star. But you know, when the last book in a series is not great or not your favorite, it's just disappointing, and I was in fact disappointed. But if we're gonna talk about last books in series being the best one in a series, Final Offer by Lauren Asher. This is the other book I read in that reading vlog. Again, I'll link it. I'll link the vlog. Go look at the vlog. I think it's cute. But I gave this 5 stars. I give this 5 stars. This was my favorite book in the series. I was worried because look at this. This is a brick of a book. This is 600 pages, and I was like, I swear to God, if this book is too long, I'm gonna be mad. But it did not feel too long. I feel like the page count is justified because of how much depth this book goes into. Both Alana and Cal are the most fully formed characters as like feeling so real as humans from Lauren Asher in this series. I think I really liked both of them. I really liked both of their experiences and their struggles and how they like bounced off of each other and how they grew together that way. This is a second chance romance, so there is a lot of the beginning of the book where it's setting up not only the present but also revealing like the past, the history, like how we got to where we are here. Cal is dealing with addiction, so that's like an added layer to it as well. And it was also like pretty slow burn, which I do love. It just like felt so good, and the way this ended felt like perfect. I was so happy. Okay, it was so good. It didn't feel like too easy, and the 3rd act conflict like made sense. I gave this 5 stars, and it really redeemed my reading after being disappointed to then love something so wonderfully. So I'm so glad that I loved this book, and I really did. I really did. Finally, last book I read in February was Play With Me by Becka Mack. This is the 2nd book in her Playing for Keeps series. I don't know if I mentioned Final Offer is the 3rd in Dreamland Billionaires. Anyway, but this is the 2nd book in Playing for Keeps by Becka Mack. And I gave this 4. I settled on a 4 star because I started this book and it was giving 5. It really was. I was like, I am loving this. This is so fun, and things aren't like developing too quickly, which was like one of my kind of problems I had with Consider Me, the first book. It was that it's like you kind of got somewhere and then you're like, wow, and you got like 150 pages into Consider Me, and then it just like You're just like, why are we reading this for so many 100 pages of them just like being happy? It doesn't make sense. And this didn't have that, and I was like, I'm thrilled because it's so fun. I think like Becka Mack's writing is like very bingeable, so it's like so easy to just like read these books really quickly. There's like a lot of like steamy moments in it that are great. This is best friend's sister brother's best friend romance, so they're trying to be like a secret and hiding, and that adds like kind of just like a fun little sprinkle element on top for the plot. However, the last 150 pages, I was like, shouldn't this be over? I swear this book had like 3 third act conflicts, and there were scenes where it's like it felt like we're just like repeating basically the same scenario, and it's like, this didn't need to be here twice. This could have been condensed together. I felt like I was reading it and I was like, am I editing this book in my head while I'm reading it? Because I seriously got to, this is like 530 pages. I got to the 400 page mark and I was like, I wish this book was over. Like, it feels like it should be over right now. And I know it's not, because I know that like this and this and this has to happen before the book concludes, logically. But like, shouldn't we be there already? Like, that's like the worst part about Becka Mack for me so far, is that her books seem to just hit this like plateau where this needed to be edited down, this needed to be condensed together, this needed to just to be switched up, because like for me at least, like the essence of these books are so fun, so lovable. I love the concepts. Also, I just like hated Carter in this book. He was so annoying in this book. But I gave it 4 stars. I was really considering giving it a 3.5, but I was like, up until the last 150 pages, I really was like really loving it. I had like some qualms where I was like, okay, it feels like we're repeating scenarios unnecessarily for like plot-wise. It's like, why is this happening again? Shouldn't we be moving past this? But like, that wasn't a huge deal. It wasn't like happening too many times for me, but like the last 150 pages of this really just like killed it for me, and it was disappointing that way. But overall, it was a good read, and I will be reading more of the series. There is a 3rd book, Unravel Me, which I believe is Adam's book, which I'm like really excited for because he's just like a sweet golden retriever boy of a hockey player. These are all hockey romances, by the way. And then I believe Becka Mack is coming out with a 4th book now. I thought this was a completed series. It's not, it's ongoing. But there is a 4th book coming out in this series now, and so I'm intrigued about that as well. I will keep reading, because overall, I do like them. I have a good time. And like, you know, we're only going up. I gave Consider Me, I think, 3 stars, and I'm giving this 4, so clearly things have been getting better, which is great, and we love that. We love to see that. So like, February really was, I said this so many times, but I really am. I have fully entered my romance era. I'm a romance girly. I've been reading romance. I have plans to read more romance. The romance is here. This is what we've been doing. This is what I've been loving. I think especially in February, being so busy, I was really leaning into romance because it was such a good like little mental escape. Always like really easy, quick reads, as in like you physically can read them fast. Obviously sometimes like some like plots and topics can be kind of like heavy in like themes and things, but like overall, you know, it's not like reading a fantasy book. Like, you're not using a ton of mental brain power to understand and comprehend when you're reading just a fun little contemporary historical hockey romance, you know? And that's really what I needed in February. Going into March, I think I'm just gonna need more of that, because like I still have some upcoming busy weeks with work. I'm also liking it, so I'm happy. I'm here, I'm living in my romance era. Please tell me all of the romance books I should read. I want all of the recommendations, okay? I have plans to read Elsie Silver. I have Flawless. People, it's happening. It will happen. I will read the cowboy romance, and I'm hoping I'm gonna love it. Yeehaw. Yeehaw. So, you know, like that was the month. There we go. If you haven't liked this video, make sure to give it a like, give it a thumbs up. If you haven't liked me, consider subscribing. I'd be happy to have you. Comment down below any of your thoughts on these books. Give me any recommendations for books you think I'd like. Tell me what your favorite book was this month. Have you been reading romance in February? La-di-da-di-da-di-di-di. Comments, comments, comments. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And with that, I will see you in the next one. I hope you're having a wonderful day today. Bye-bye.